let's talk about a feeling that I'm pretty sure everyone has had. It's called the spotlight effect, and it all boils down to one really powerful idea. No one is watching you as closely as you think.
You know that feeling, right? That little voice in your head that's convinced there's a giant spotlight following you around, highlighting every single thing you do wrong. I mean, you can practically feel it. It's like a physical weight, this sense that everyone just stopped what they were doing to watch you, to judge you.
Oh, and this is the worst. You stumble over a word or make a tiny mistake, and your brain just replays it on a loop for the rest of the day. You're absolutely positive that's the only thing people will remember about you. Well, that feeling, it actually has a name.
That's what it is. It's a cognitive bias. You can basically think of it as a glitch in our thinking. Our brain is hardwired to believe that we stand out way more than we actually do. It feels so real, but it's just a distortion of reality.
And this quote from Thomas Gilovich, one of the lead researchers on this, just nails it. The reason this happens is actually pretty simple. You see, we're the main character in our own story. We live with ourselves 24/7. So we naturally just assume we're a much bigger deal in everyone else's story than we really are.
So, okay, it's one thing to talk about a feeling, but is there any proof? Well, a team of psychologists decided to find out. They designed this really clever and kind of funny experiment to see just how big the gap between our perception and reality actually is.
And that leads us to the legendary Barry Manilow experiment. Seriously, this study is a classic, and it perfectly shows just how wrong our social radar can be.
Okay, so picture this. The researchers had college students put on what was, at the time, a pretty embarrassing t-shirt, one with a huge picture of Barry Manilow on it. Then they had them walk into a room filled with their classmates. After they left, they were asked a simple question. How many people in there do you think noticed your shirt?
And, well, the results were incredible. There was this huge gap between what the students thought people noticed and what they actually noticed.
The students wearing the shirt, feeling that spotlight burning down on them, predicted that almost half the people in the room, a whopping 46%, noticed the cheesy t-shirt. They were totally convinced it was a huge deal.
But the actual number? Only 23%. Less than a quarter of the people in the room even registered it. They overestimated how much they stood out by double. The spotlight they felt was a blazing fire, but in reality, it was just a tiny flicker.
And this, right here, is the whole point. That big, scary, judgmental audience that you think is watching your every move, for the most part, it's a phantom. It's just not there. People are way too busy worrying about their own lives, their own problems, and their own imaginary spotlights.
So, here's the mental switch you need to make. Anytime you catch yourself worrying, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? Just stop. And instead, realize this simple truth. They're probably not thinking about you at all. They're too busy thinking about themselves.
So how do we actually use this in real life? Okay, here are 4 simple steps. First, do a little reality check. Ask yourself, how often do I notice or even care about other people's tiny little mistakes? Probably never, right? So give yourself that same break. Second, shift your focus. Instead of being stuck in your own head, look outward. Get curious about other people. Then you can start to accept imperfection because you realize making small mistakes is just part of being human. And all of that leads to the most important step of all. Just act anyway. True confidence isn't about not feeling fear. It's about doing the thing even when you're scared.
And what's the big prize for doing all this? It's freedom. Real freedom. The freedom to speak up in a meeting without second-guessing every word. The freedom to try something new without worrying about looking foolish. The freedom to just be yourself, knowing you're not constantly under a microscope.
So please, remember this. That intense, burning spotlight, it's not real. It's a projection coming from inside your own head. You're the one holding the spotlight, and you're the one pointing it at yourself.
And that's maybe the most liberating thought there is. The second you give yourself permission to turn that spotlight off, you stop performing for an audience that was never there, and you can finally start living for yourself.